Hello, YouTube. What's up? My name is Camilla. Some know me as Aaron. I make YouTube videos generally related to transgender-related topics, political issues, and things of like a day in the life type videos, and even some tutorials. This video, I'm going to be speaking about the stages of transition while I am straightening my hair. So this is what my hair looks like without being straightened. It's very slightly wavy in some parts, straight in others. And I also get really curly at the base of my back of my hair. So straightening kind of evens everything out. Anyhow, I want to talk about my experience as a transgender person and an intersex person as well. What I would consider different stages or certain stages of transition. You have the preliminary stage, and that's basically what the trans community calls an egg. I hate that term, but it's before someone comes to terms with their gender identity, before their aha moment. For me, I knew when I was 7 years old. For some, I don't relate with people who come out in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s feeling this way, because I was born feeling this way and felt it for so long. But that's the first stage. And then we have what's considered the baby trans. And that is more or less someone who has started HRT and is in their early years of transitioning. So the baby trans person is more susceptible to being misgendered. They haven't been on HRT long enough to develop secondary sex characteristics. Also, the baby trans has to learn body language. They have to learn different mannerisms, the way that they speak, and also inflection in their voice. So my voice changed a lot during the course of my transition, and working on vocal training is a huge thing for trans people. I don't work on it very much. I'm kind of happy with my voice and don't really care what people think of it. But before I get into the next stage, I will explain something about me. I started a puberty blocker in 1999, November of 1999. I came off of it in the spring of 2004. I was on medicine called Lupron. These days, transgender children are using this as a puberty inhibitor. I also used it as a puberty inhibitor, but I was using it for precocious puberty. I'm intersex, and I was having a precocious puberty with my female reproductive system, and they put me on Lupron. And I actually got to come off of it and experience my male puberty. Coming off of Lupron was difficult. I had breast buds developing very young, so I lived in confusion. That was difficult for me, but that allowed me to have a second puberty from the ages of about 15 to 20. That was where my main testosterone exposure was. Going on testosterone blockers in 2011 and hormone replacement therapy in 2013, I think. Yes. So there are many stages in my transition, but what is becoming after the baby trans stage? This is what I consider the adaptive stage of being trans. You're acclimating to your new role in society. So if you were born a male and you're transitioning to live as a female, you have to learn how to be safe as a woman. There are a lot of dangers women are more prone to than men are, like walking to anywhere alone at night. Especially the more passable you are, the more chances you are having something bad happen to you. And the less passable you are, the more chances you have of someone being violent towards you. So it's really important to be diligent when you're in the adaptive stage because you're learning to keep your legs closed. You're learning to hold your body with proper posture. Women have better posture than men. So for the trans woman, adapting can take several years. Once you've adapted to your transition, you're able to more or less live your life comfortably as the gender you identify as. Obviously, as I always state in my videos, no one can change their sex. You can change your secondary sex characteristics through hormones, and you can change your facial structure, breasts, or genitals through surgery. But the adaptive stage can take longer for many and shorter for others. I would say the adaptive stage I went through was from probably the ages of 22 to maybe 27. I was still figuring myself out. I went to vocal training, just working on my presentation of my feminine self. What's weird is when you move into the next stage is the acceptance. This is not like the stages of grief. This is an acceptance of who you are. What happens when you've been in transition over 5 years on hormones, you kind of forget what it was like to be the gender that you started as. So for me, I can't really remember what it was like to live as a guy. I've been doing this a majority of my adult life, and I've forgotten a lot of like social context of men. I've lived basically almost all of my adult life presenting as a woman. So there's a lot that goes into transition. At that stage, in the later stages, is when most trans people get what they call nowadays gender affirmation surgeries. Excuse me, my allergies are bothering me. These most people get either breast augmentation, gender reassignment, or facial feminization, as well as permanent facial hair removal. It's important to work no matter what stage you're at in your transition, whether you're a baby trans or you've been in it a long time. If you're a trans woman, you need to get your facial hair removed because that will be an issue for the rest of your life. There are certain actions you need to take when you're earlier in your transition so that you can have a successful transition. I do not pass 1,000,000%, but at work and interacting with customers every day, I get gendered ma'am, she, her pronouns. It has been forever since I was misgendered. And when you get to that point in your transition, you truly do forget the social experience as a man. There's a fine line between the gender role change. I do believe that it's very easy to forget your male self, and that's what I mean by fine line. English is my second language, so I'm trying the best at these videos. But basically, once you've gotten to the later stages, above 10 years in hormones, that's the last stage before that's what you're going to live for the rest of your life as. And I just call that the rest of your life stage. It comes after acceptance. The rest of your life is, you know that you're going to be on cross-sex hormones for the rest of your life. You probably have already had gender reassignment surgery or facial work or whatever that you intended on doing. At this point in your transition, you've done it. It's beyond the acceptance. It's what I call the living stage. And really, during that stage, that's where I'm at in my transition is I live my life as if I truly was born a woman. If you watch my channel, you'll know that I do have the partial female reproductive system. I'm intersex. But disregarding that, living as a woman is, pardon me, living as a woman is basically all I know at this point. I never think that I could properly detransition. I tried that last fall, did not have much luck, and it was for the best that I didn't have support because I spent, almost 15 years working on my transition. And I'm glad I didn't throw it all away. I'm glad I didn't cut my hair. I just experimented with binding my chest and just socially trying to detransition, but had no luck. So I'm basically more or less, this is the final result of HRT and facial work. It is what it is, and this is who I am, and I have to come to love myself. And I've learned that there are people that are going to hate on me. I'm putting my private life on YouTube, and I'm open to criticism. It does occur. I get some very hurtful comments. I do not let them hurt me, but some people are just mean for the sake of being mean. I would say 95% people are absolutely just extremely sweet to me. On my channel, my main fan base and subscribers, I get a lot of love out of this channel. So much more love than hate. But living as a woman is a lifelong process for me. I always say living as a woman because I am not existing as a woman. I was born a guy, so I can't live as a woman. But I use that basically to make it simple. And living as a female and presenting as a female, being accepted socially as a female is the basically the end goal of someone's transition. It's what the baby trans stage dreams of being. It takes about a decade from starting HRT to get to where you're adaptive, then you're accepting, and then you're living your life. And that's just the real life experience of a trans person. Some of the things that I'll share with you that I face that most people don't if you're not trans. Early stages, especially if you have shorter hair and you're wearing women's clothing, you are gonna get stared at and you may get nasty remarks. When I did this, this was a long time ago. This is 13 or 14 years ago when I was a baby trans. You get used to being stared at, and when you go out in public, you're going to have a lot of people look at you funny, especially children, women and children. Men tend to not make much eye contact overall. As you move into your transition and look more and more like the gender you identify as, you can start comfortably using, got to comfortably start using the women's bathroom. For someone like myself, I'm legally a female per all my documents, and going to the bathroom in the men's restroom is technically illegal for me. So that's like, getting the right and feeling like I've earned my right to use the women's bathroom. That's what I have issues with, like that person who is shaving their beard and naked in a Planet Fitness in a women's changing room, locker room. That's nasty. People like that are gross, and it's a very poor representation of the trans community. Overall, being trans at that stage is not trans. That is just a weirdo. And being trans is not easy for us because we have weirdos like that that kind of taint our community image. And the trans community has changed from a community that fought not to have labels to a community that advocates for 600,000 labels. It's changed so much just in the 15 years that I have been in some type of studying transitioning in real life or going to gender support groups. Transitioning is, for me, I'm grateful that I did this. In hindsight is 2020, but if I look back to my younger self when I was living as a young man, maybe 18, 19, that one day I would be a woman that I consider a pretty beautiful woman. I wouldn't have believed it, but it was my life dream, and nothing could satiate that dream except doing what I've done. I could go into a lot more detail, but I try to keep these videos under 18 minutes usually. There's a lot to being trans. There's so many different stages in your life. And Accepting yourself, though, is the number one thing that will help you in your transition, regardless of how passable you are or how less passable you are. If you can accept yourself and look in the mirror and say, hey, at least I'm happy with that, I don't care what anyone else thinks, you're not going to be nearly as depressed. People that I meet that are transgender, especially online and especially in the woke communities, is that all of them are very unhappy people. They've been rejected by their families, they've been stigmatized, and they own that stigma. And almost in like, I'm trying to think of the word in English, they kind of flaunt their wokeness, and that's I unfortunately get affected by that because they're technically part of my community, but someone who's been doing this a lot longer than them, it just infuriates me. Anyhow, this video is about the stages of transitioning. I'm sure that there's a million different steps I missed in this video. I just tried to cover the main points, at least from my transition. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and, go down there and give me some comments and subscribe for me. If you've never seen my content and you're watching this video, subscribe. Ring that notification bell so you'll be alerted every time that I upload a new video. You won't have to miss them, and I'm trying to upload videos once a week. I am taking more time out of my personal life to become more active in my YouTube channel. I was very active, started a new job that's very demanding, and I work a lot of hours, so it's just been really hard to keep up with the videos, but I'm working on growing my channel. I appreciate your viewership, and I hope to see you next time. And if you have any comments, leave them below. If it's something that touches me, I will reply. If you have questions and sincerely need help, go ahead and leave a question and put a heart next to it. That way I know that you, a heart emoji, that way I will definitely respond to those comments and those questions. I get a lot of comments and there's no way I can respond to every one of them. So I appreciate them and it helps my algorithm. So I always appreciate comments, and it really lights my life up to see people who enjoy my videos. I'm glad that these have been able to help people. And I do this out of altruism, not for monetization. Anyhow, until next time, bye-bye.